How Catholicism cured my egalitarianism. When I was Protestant, I was very egalitarian, believing that men and women were equal and almost had interchangeable roles. Thus, women could be pastors. But as I started going to Mass and eventually converted to Catholicism, I became entirely complementarian, and I'll tell you why. Without a liturgy, without a Mass, church was defined as hearing a gospel message, going through a passage of scripture and hearing a sermon, worshiping with music, and also communal prayer. All things that women can do with the exception of giving a homily at Mass. But what was so clear to me by the appeal of Christ's example and church tradition was that women were never priests and they couldn't say Mass. For the ancient Christian church, church was defined as the celebration of the Mass and the liturgy of the Eucharist. And the priesthood was and is reserved for men. The reason for this is because Jesus chose men to be his disciples. This apostolic tradition was furthered by them and their successors. They were the first priests, bishops, and pope of the early church. And as a famous Catholic YouTuber has said, the church doesn't feel it has authority to change this after 2,000 years. The priest has a very different role than a pastor. They're to be in persona Christi, in the person of Christ. They take holy orders and vow their lives to serve the church and perform her sacraments. As feminist as I am, I could never imagine a woman being a Catholic priest. I've never once sat in Mass and thought, I could see a woman up there on the altar consecrating the host, or being in the confessional with me. In fact, I much prefer traditional liturgies where the altar servers are all boys. There are no Eucharistic ministers, and it's mostly led by men. As my mother says, the more we do, the less they do. Surely we can do it, but if there's men around, why are we? This isn't to say that women aren't capable of leading, but rather that they're better served when men lead. It doesn't strike me as empowering when a parish is mostly run by women. It strikes me as male destitute. I've seen that a feminized church often drives men out. That doesn't serve the young men in the parish. It also doesn't serve the women or families. Women want men to lead, and women want to be where the men are. Most of the young and traditional, but still very highly intelligent and capable women I know actually don't want to roll at Mass, except maybe dressing a pew of kiddos in the future and wrangling a few misbehaved toddlers. Now, this doesn't mean that there aren't extraordinary women leading in the church. There are various roles open for women. Women can be theologians and philosophers, ministry leaders, professors at Catholic universities, and even doctors of the church. Some of them teach in our seminaries, forming our priests. Others are exceptionally successful lay people like Elizabeth Anscombe. Oxford-educated Catholic convert who married another Catholic convert, had 7 children, was an anti-war activist, often spoke out against contraception and abortion, and was a very formidable debater. In fact, she even got C.S. Lewis to change a chapter in his book Miracles because of her argument. Not to mention, back in the day when married women didn't have to work, they were heavily involved in parish life. They were not your average old church ladies. They were the epicenter of the community. They were building the neighborhood. They were making God's house a home. If you liked this video, feel free to like it and give it a thumbs up. I would love it if you would subscribe to my page, follow me on Instagram at Jessica Lynn Kramer, or my Twitter at JessKramer1776.